This topic was actually chosen by you. I asked on my Instagram for the topics to discuss in this podcast, and this was the most voted: relationships, and especially stepping out of our relationship. And I think this really says something. It tells me that there are so many women sitting with questions they don't always say out loud. Am I settling? Am I staying because I love this person? Or because I'm afraid to leave? How do I know when something is no longer for me? Today, I want to have a real conversation about this. Big disclaimer. Before we start this conversation, there's something I want to say, and it's very important. This conversation is not me telling anyone to end their relationship. I don't believe anyone outside your relationship can make a decision for you. Every person, every relationship, every situation, it's unique and different. My intention today is simply to share my own experiences, the things I learned, the questions I ask myself in those moments that help me understand what was right for me. Maybe I share something that resonates with you and maybe helps you to look at your own situation with more clarity. Maybe it simply reminds you to listen to yourself. The goal is not to tell anyone which decision to make. The goal is to help you reconnect with yourself so you can make the best decision for your own life. And if you are in a relationship that is going through a hard moment, through a difficult season, this conversation is not about giving up when things get hard. Relationships require work, communication, and growth. This is about recognizing when you are losing yourself. Discuss about choosing yourself. Sometimes we think it's only about the big decisions in life, when we have to start all over again, or when we have to leave and maybe following our dreams. But choosing yourself exists also in those small daily moments. One of my favorite ways is through little rituals that remind me that I matter. And that's what I want to share with you, the sponsor of this video, My Sweet Gratitude Body Butter. Because I love that turning a small moment, like just moisturizing my skin, and turn it into a little act of self-love and care. The texture feels very luxurious. It smells delicious. I am using right now the Gold Body Butter, and it really leaves my skin very soft and moisturized, and it's created with the best organic ingredients. I always say that because it's so important for me what I add in my body. Women, we spend a lot of time giving to others, to our families, our work, and the people that we love. And sometimes we forget that we have to give this love back to ourselves. So why not starting with this My Sweet Gratitude Body Butter? If you want to get yours, just click on the link in the description down below. And now, let's start this conversation. Okay, so this topic is actually very personal for me, and it really took me a couple of days to actually sit here and talk in the most careful way about it. I stepped out of 2 relationships very consciously, and they were very, very different relationships, and they taught me very different lessons. I stepped out of a relationship where I felt the biggest love I've ever felt, but I learned that love wasn't enough. I learned that you can love deeply, you can have the best connection, and that you may want it to work and create future and build. But the honest truth is sometimes love doesn't create compatibility. Sometimes someone can be a very beautiful chapter in your life, but not the person you will build the whole book with it. I must say this was literally on my list of the harder decisions I've ever made in my life. When we are so deeply connected, when we feel the biggest amount of love that we have ever felt for someone, and also being reciprocated, when making the decision to live for my highest good, the pain was extreme. But the soul screaming that I needed something different was louder. And I also stepped out of a relationship where I felt the loneliest. Sometimes you can have something that looks safe from the outside, that it looks like I have a future. But feeling alone while being with someone has also been one of the biggest pain I've ever felt. I stepped out of our relationship being a mother and having a child. And I think this is very important for all the women listening outside, because sometimes when kids are involved, it makes the decision even harder. You can spend a lot of time just thinking what is best for them. Should I stay? Should I leave? And you can just spend your life wondering without taking any actual action. Of course, this can apply to many forms of relationship, maybe a business relationship, maybe a friendship. But of course, we are going to be discussing the topic that we care the most, love and romantic relationships, because we are always aiming for love and to find the real love, and we suffer a lot when love doesn't feel like love. Why women stay? We stay because we love them, and sometimes love can make us hold longer than we should. We stay because of the time invested. How many of us have had this thought of, how can I live after everything I built? Maybe a 20 plus years marriage, an entire life, material things, a family. Sometimes we look back and we see everything that we have created, and that, of course, it makes us almost impossible of making a decision to walk away. We stay because of fear. Why if I never find someone again? Why if I never find love again? Why if I never meet anyone? What if I'm running out of time? And one of the most dangerous for many of us, we stay because of potential. I'm talking to you and I'm talking to me. How many of us have fallen in love with the potential of someone? Women, we have this power to see beyond someone. We can see everything that he could be. Women, sometimes we are too delusional to think that they will change and they will become that someone. And sometimes right in front of us, we don't even have the slightest indicator that that will ever happen. And yet, there we stay, just in case. We stay because starting over feels terrifying. I personally consider myself pretty young, and I'm just starting my 30s. But if I have to go through the same in my 50s, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I would react. I don't know. There's something very important to talk here. The difference between a hard season and a misaligned relationship. Because not every difficult moment means leave. Relationship and even marriages, I don't have that experience yet. But I know how important it is, especially after committing to each other, to be there for each other, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's bad seasons for everyone, and sometimes it doesn't mean that it's really time to go. But there are some things that we can ask. Sometimes it's just about moments. Sometimes it's literally paths just growing away, growing apart. We should really be asking ourselves, are we growing together? Are we on the same page in this relationship? Are we both choosing the relationship? Sometimes it's all about character, misunderstandings, miscommunication, someone having a bad season at their job, and sometimes we really put all the load on our partners. Sometimes we are so focused in something that we literally forget about the priority of our relationship. So it's very, very important to understand if whatever that I am going through personally, am I still choosing the relationship? Because that can be something that can create that connection to understand, okay, I understand that maybe, I don't know, someone just got fired from their job and that is making an impact on the relationship. But I'm still choosing that relationship. Just communicate that this is a personal bad season, but has nothing to do with the relationship, and I still choosing you. Can we communicate and repair? Because that's very, very important in my own experience. Sometimes we communicate, but do we repair? Sometimes we just express what's going on, but what do we do with that? How do we repair, actually? How do we make things grow safer? I know women, we always have this need of communication, and I know most men struggle a lot with that. But I've seen not only in my experience, but in many other relationships where the communication is there. But are we really listening to the other person when they express? Are we listening to be able to understand what they are going through, or we are listening just to give them an answer? How do we receive communication from the other side? This is something very important, because I know many women, we communicate when we are not happy in our relationship. We communicate, and we communicate. And sometimes on the man's side, and I'm just talking in a general way, just don't overreact about this. This is a general situation. I'm not just being specific in anyone, but mostly there is this saying that men want peace. So when we start communicating, they receive it as a complaining. And I have struggled with this a lot. You're complaining again. No, I'm not complaining. I'm communicating what I'm feeling. For us, for women, we are emotional beings, so we feel. We don't use the word, I think that this is happening. We are, in our vocabulary, the word is always, I feel this. And how many of us have received this, oh, you're complaining again, until we start communicating / complaining? For how long this communication and repair should be going? Because that's also something that doesn't look very healthy. If all the time you have to be communicating and repairing, but there's no actual changes, that's also another thing to observe. Do I feel safe being myself? As this is a woman's talk, of course I'm talking from the women's side. And because I am emotional, I'm not rational. So I know how we feel things. And feeling safe is one of the most important things for women, especially relating with a man. If we don't feel safe with a man, we're never gonna be able to fully be ourselves and to fully rest in our feminine energy. Relationships require work, but it's also important to wonder, like, are we in this boat together, or am I alone in this boat? There's a difference between fighting for someone and fighting against yourself. It comes a moment in the nature of a woman when you know deeply in your soul that you're just losing yourself, that you're breaking yourself, that your soul feels weakened. And this may be some of the signs that you are actually losing yourself. You are constantly shrinking yourself. You know you are not in your full potential. You know you're not growing as a person. You know you always have to become smaller to be accepted, to be seen, to feel love, or to be loved, or to be heard. You don't recognize who you are anymore. There is a very wild nature in us that allows us to identify those by feeling it in our soul. It goes beyond the heart. It's our soul screaming and whispering, please don't let me die. And I've been there. Your dreams became smaller. You're not a dreamer anymore. Your dreams are not respected or heard or even taken in consideration. You're not given space to actually achieve them You're convincing yourself, or you are being convinced, to just put them aside because this is not the moment. And you feel lonely more often than connected. Let's get closer and a little bit more intimate. You're staying only because you are afraid. I'm almost emotional because it's touching me deeply in my heart and in my soul. I've been there and I'm happy where I am today. But I know that out there, many of you, maybe you watching this video, or maybe other women that haven't found me yet, and please share this video with your friends. They are in terrible circumstances. Maybe even their life is in danger and they are afraid to leave. Maybe they have no voice at all. They are completely silenced. And it's not just about losing themselves, it's just literally dying on the inside and being dead alive. This is a question that can change everything for you. If nothing changed in this relationship for the next 5 years, which is a lot of time, but let's just put a number. Would I still choose this life? Would you be able to live the way you feel today? Or the way you've been feeling for years, for years you have been feeling something that you know is not right. And you know it doesn't make you bloom like a flower. If I ask you today, and if I tell you that your life in the next 5 years will still be the same, would you still be here? This question is very powerful because it may help you to shift from waiting for potential to looking at reality. Choosing yourself doesn't always mean that you will stop loving someone. Sometimes it means that you actually started loving yourself enough to listen. And I think every woman deserves a relationship where they can expand, where we can actually be that feminine woman that multiplies everything that a man gives us instead of disappearing. Sometimes we stay a lot in the grieving station. We grieve the person, the memories, the future that we imagine, and the version of yourself that was inside of that relationship. And sometimes we're not even grieving what it was. Sometimes we grieve what we'd hope it would be. I want to come back for a second to my example of stepping out of a relationship where it was only me, and the difference with stepping out of a relationship while being a mom and also having to make a decision that would have an impact in my kid. I know many times we have to ask ourselves what's the best thing for them. And trust me, I stay longer than I should, waiting to have the perfect answer for that. And I know sometimes it looks like I choose myself into the decision I made. And in part it is, but 90% of my decision was for him, for my baby in this case. And my answer was that what's the best for him? The best for him is to have a mom that is able to be the best version for him. I had to choose myself for him. My baby does not deserve a depressed mother, a sad woman, a frustrated person. My baby does not deserve someone that feels like she needs to try to be happy. And those were all the answers I had wandering around all the time, because I wanted to make the decision for him. It was my responsibility to be the best mother that I can be for him. So this is why it really helped me to make a decision with kids involved. I mentioned in every episode that I have done of this podcast that the reason I was inspired to make these episodes was because I received a message from another woman asking me for advice. And literally this woman had a similar story than me. She also traveled to another continent for a man. She had a baby and her life was literally in danger. I'm still waiting to have answers and news from her. I'm finger crossed that everything is okay with her. But when you feel your life is in danger, it's impossible to feel alive. When you experience things in a relationship that clearly go against your well-being, that clearly breaks you on the inside, when you cannot feel safe with a man, for example, when you're driving yourself crazy, when you live in constant survival mode, those are clearly reasons to live. But I know many women have been living in that same situation without being able to step away. I don't even want to go deeper into even harder situation as levels of violence where literally the life of a woman can be lost. But I cannot avoid that is a situation that actually exists in this world. And I know that are many women that are literally suffering, keeping it in silence, having no one to talk, and feeling like they have nowhere to go in situations where they cannot even feel protected by the police, for example. And I also know that there are women that are in these situations. They have the opportunity to leave and they keep coming back. Sister, it's not gonna change. And you know in your heart, in your soul, in your entire body that you're dying on the inside. I swear there is a brighter future for you on the other side of this difficult decision that you have to make. Trust me, there is someone out there that can love you correctly. Don't give up. You are a daughter of God. He's your father and protects you, and he has the best plans for you. Don't lose your hope. Please, if you have been in difficult situation, if you have made the hard decision to step out of a relationship, and today you can have a beautiful testimony to share, please share it on the comments. I want to hear and I want to read your stories. Not just me, but I want every woman going through a hard situation right now, through a hard moment where maybe making a decision is very difficult. I want them to read your comments. You can inspire someone with your own story, so please let me know in the comments, and so everybody can read as well. This is very important. Share with me and share with all of us in the comments how you have found love again, how your life has become brighter, how you've been able to reconnect with yourself and love yourself enough to be sharing a happy story today. Making this episode was really difficult for me because it really brings back memories that I want to keep in a box. And also I cannot but empathize with how it must feel for many women outside. And I didn't want to go too personal or to give too many details for those who are waiting to hear who is who of the things that I'm mentioning here. This video wasn't to talk about my exes, for example. It was more about the decisions and everything that I had to think and feel in order to put myself in a better position today. And especially talking about romantic relationships. I'm an endless romantic. I believe in love so hard, and I know what I want and I know what I deserve, which is something that I think is also very important, to know what you want in a relationship, how you want to be treated, what you want to feel, how you want to feel. Relationships are not perfect. It requires a lot of job. Definitely, I am glad that today I am a new creature in Christ, and my next relationship, God will be in the center of it. So I will be able to trust even better that what's best for me is coming my way. And with God as my mentor, I will be able to even avoid making the same mistakes that maybe I have done in the past. I know I will not condemn certain things. I will not accept certain things. And I know I will not behave in certain ways. Today I am single, falling in love with me again, falling in love with Jesus, building my relationship with Him. So the next man in my life have to meet God in order to find me. But yes, I've been brokenhearted a couple of times. I grieve many losses. I shared endless tears and I felt very hopeless. But I was able to find myself again. And I know you will too. Whatever the decision you need to make, that you may have been postponing, maybe this video is a sign that it's time for you to make the decision that will make you fall in love with life again. God is good and God forgives, and it will always gives us another opportunity to shine and to experience life as the most graceful thing that it is. Just don't lose yourself, sister. This video was very sensitive. Probably I could have said a lot more, or maybe I didn't say enough. Maybe this video wasn't perfectly divided by the topics that were actually needed to hear, but it was very difficult. It was very sensitive. I know it's a sensitive topic, and while recording it, I had many moments of silence, trying to find the best words, and I got emotional and I got grateful. I were as well, and most of all, hopeful. Sometimes choosing yourself is not the easiest choice. Sometimes it breaks your heart. Sometimes it means walking away from something beautiful. But there is a different kind of heartbreak that comes from abandoning yourself. And I believe every woman deserves to meet the version of herself who chooses to come home. Thank you. I'll see you on the next video.